Hi guys, so on March the 30th, the Great Return March started, and it's a 6-week march, so the tensions continue to flare at the Israeli-Gaza border. And it's just, I'm bringing this to you because I believe that whatever's going to happen in Syria or Iran in relation to Israel and Iran is most likely going to take place after the Great Return March. So the Great Return March started on the 30th of March. 6 weeks brings us to May the 11th. So the 11th of May, Friday, will be the end of the 6-week Great Return March. That is just in time for the Iran nuclear deal deadline, which is on the 12th of May, and just before the Israeli Independence Day, which is on the 14th of May. So the reason I say that is because obviously the people that are protesting at the Gaza border are Palestinians, and I don't think the Iranians will want to get any Palestinians, in terms of civilian Palestinians, involved if they do intend to strike at Israel. So most likely, what I'm thinking is they'll most likely wait until after the Great Return March is finished on May the 11th, and then the Iran nuclear deal deadline comes up the next day. Obviously, if the nuclear deal isn't continued and Donald Trump decides to, you know, rip it up, then 2 more days and it's Israel's Independence Day. Could be a day where Iran chooses to make Israel pay as they said they would. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it seems as if things are going to possibly escalate after this Great Return March, so that there's either no civilian casualties or there's less civilian casualties in terms of the Palestinians. This comes as, yes, I am using ad blocker. Sorry, 1 second. So this comes as, oops, wrong thing. Sorry, 1 second, there we go. Yeah, so this comes as Mattis is warning that a direct conflict between Israel and Iran is very likely. So it's not, I don't think it's a question of if. Iran have definitely said that they're going to respond to Israel for striking or for killing their personnel in Syria. And Russia has obviously, it looks like they're preparing to back Iran up in that sense by moving their air defense systems into Syria and moving bombers and fighter jets into Iran. So it's all kind of set up there. And then you've got the coalition that's forming between Iran, Iraq, Russia, Syria, and possibly Turkey as well. And I'll get to that in just a minute as well. This obviously comes as Israel says it will not let Iran set up a forward base in Syria. So if it appears that Iran is setting up a base to launch and strike Israel from, then Israel will preemptively strike Iran first in Syria. So that's where I kind of say I don't know who's going to strike first. Is it going to be Iran because they promised retaliation, or is it going to be Israel because they're going to, prevent Iran from being able to actually attack Israel? I'm not exactly sure, but either way, the cards are on the table. They're just waiting to be played. And in relation to Turkey joining the coalition, it looks like Russia, Turkey, and Iran are set to hold talks on Syria. Now, this doesn't mean that they're actually going to, switch sides, but it is curious. As I said before, Turkey is a NATO ally, so you'd expect them to be on that side of things. But the way the strategic positioning of Turkey as well makes it important to Russia and Iran, particularly if they want to go for Israel. So the foreign ministers of Russia, Iran, and Turkey were set to hold talks on Syria on Saturday, that is today, in the wake of an alleged chemical attack that has exposed differences between the three powers. The three nations have been attempting to find a political solution to the Syrian conflict at talks that started last year, with latest talks in Moscow between two of Assad's key supporters, Moscow and Tehran, and rebel-backed Ankara, come as the alleged chemical attack in the Syrian town of Douma on April 7th has prompted sharply differing responses from Turkey and Russia. Now, I curse those who carried out this massacre, President Erdogan said, adding that he welcomed Western airstrikes in retaliation as appropriate. That is as it stands now. But as we're all waiting for the OPCW's findings on whether there was a chemical attack in Syria or not, and who the likely perpetrators of that attack were, we don't know what Turkey will say after that. They're having meetings today, and obviously they're going to be discussing you know, Syria, and obviously involved in that is going to be what kind of movements can be made, you know. And I think it's Russia and Iran's prerogative to try and convince Turkey that the chemical attack that took place or allegedly took place in Syria wasn't perpetrated by them, if it was perpetrated at all. So we'll see what happens in the next coming days. But it's all lined up to take place one after the other. Great Return March finish, Iran nuclear deal deadline, Israel Independence Day, and all this talk of the US preparing or, you know, having more interest in what Iran is doing in relation to Israel. Israel obviously saying that it's not going to allow Iran to set up a forward base, and then all the other movements that got going on. It just suggests that this whole peace thing that's going on with North Korea at the moment is not going to come to fruition. It's a nice idea, and to be honest, I don't think it's like, oh, North Korea is genuine about denuclearization, because it's all part of the plan anyway. If this is the global plan and all the players are, you know, playing their part, then there is no surprises here. North Korea was always going to say they were going to denuclearize after doing all these nuclear tests. North and South Korea were always going to meet and say that they're going to unify. But because of the situations that are going on in the Middle East, I don't think that's going to happen. And if we're looking at the IPEC GOAT video, then it's clear that it's not going to happen. And the last thing I wanted to present is another Dragon crashing down in terms of a form of spacecraft. So the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft set for Pacific Ocean splashdown. And when is it set for? It is set for next week, on the 2nd of May. Exactly 1 month after the Chinese space station Heavenly Palace Tiangong-1, the Great Red Dragon, crashed down. So we have another reference to a dragon crashing down. I don't know what these people are on, because with the whole dragon energy between Kanye West and Donald Trump, the Chinese space station Dragon crashing down, the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft crashing down, and all the other references that we've had to dragons, including in the Google Doodles and all other sorts of media, it's clear they're referencing the dragon being the serpent being Satan being the devil, Lucifer, the fallen angel, any number of names you want to give him, if you want to, you know, convert him to Apollyon and all those other deities, evil deities from different religions. They're all one and the same. So definitely something is going on, something to watch for. Today is April the 28th. April the 29th is tomorrow. I've spoken about April the 29th before, only in relation to the TV show, the American TV show called Flash Forward. And as I've said before, in that TV show, they have a moment where everyone in the world blacks out and flashes forward to April the 29th. And in this vision that we're seeing of April the 29th, one of the things the main character writes down on a piece of paper, on a notepad that has the date April the 29th at the top, he writes, "Who else knows?" And that's always stood out to me for years. Ever since I saw it, I've done 2 videos on it now. So I just want to put out a cautionary warning for April the 29th. And then obviously the rest of it you already know. So you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.